Hey, nerds.
Time for more nuns having funs.
And yeah. But before we get to that, I actually want to go over a couple of comments and stuff we received on both the YouTube comment section and in the Discord, the APR Discord, because they bring up some good points.
Okay.
And I think
What do we got?
Stuff we're thinking about. First thing, on the comment section for episode 8, Bay Gremlin 69, awesome name, mentions a couple of things we might find interesting. They agreed with us about Moira being really suspicious, which is good. But they bring up the point that Catherine having a ongoing liaison with James brings up a whole host of questions about what Angela knows, because Angela thinks Catherine has a secret cat, right?
Yep.
But is that really what she thinks, or is she just being circumspect about this? Right? Is that just her way of letting Catherine know that, like, hey, I know you've got this going on, but I'm not going to drag it out in front of everyone, but, you know.
I feel like Angela would absolutely drag it out in front of everyone.
Would she? She's very much about propriety and how things should be done. It seems like the kind of thing where, like, she would want to make sure Catherine knew that she knew about it, but wouldn't necessarily want to drag her out in front of everyone over it. I could absolutely see that being a part of her character. They also brought up something interesting about the whole Flora in a box story, about where Catherine shoved Flora in a box and Flora was like, trapped for a while and not well. They mentioned whether or not that could have been a failed escape attempt on Flora's part and Catherine just covering for her. Because it does seem kind of out of character with the rest of what we know about Catherine with the C.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that is definitely a really interesting way of looking at some of these events.
A failed escape attempt. It feels like escaping in and of itself wouldn't be that difficult.
Right, but as we've seen from Flora's kind of meltdown in the Misericorde a couple episodes ago, Flora doesn't really think that far ahead. She hasn't really gone through the thought process of what happens after getting out. So I could absolutely believe she just got herself stuck in a thing and in a misguided attempt to get out and didn't really think through, and Catherine with the Z is savvy enough to cover. Brogley also brought up a couple of interesting things in the 8PR Discord here. They mentioned that they still think it's reasonable to ask whether or not the first ghost was Eustace. Obviously, the second time it appeared, it was obviously her who got read the act. But, like, it certainly seems like there's a difference in I don't know what the word here is. Like, the first ghost that appeared before Hedwig was, like, tall, confident, was able to control a goat at the same time and wearing the armor confidently, whereas Eustace was kind of just, like, wobbling around in it. It makes it seem like maybe it doesn't really fit her as well. And that would actually check out. Maybe Eustace is either protecting the handsome man or someone else. Which is why she doesn't want us going around in the depths of the library when she's not around, right? Certainly would also give another explanation for Hedwig's comment about why she wishes she would have gone into the room where Eustace keeps stuff stored earlier. So that's certainly interesting. It could be that Eustace is just taking the fall for someone else to try to get Hedwig off of the real trail. They also bring up some interesting thoughts about the symbolism of biblical symbolism of sheep, goats, and especially the flaming sword, which is what was used after God cast Adam and Eve out of Eden.
Sure was.
Yeah, so that seems like they draw a very interesting parallel here between Eden and the sanctity of Hedwig's cell.
Yeah.
Right? She was cast out of her cell and now has to kind of compromise her own moral in order to do what was asked of her. And that's a fascinating way of looking. I am not Christian. I would not get any of this stuff on first pass. So that's awesome. Thank you for bringing that up. And again, feel free to, if you're reading along with us, if this is your first time, feel free to drop your own thoughts in the comment section or in the Discord. We do read them, and it does affect our own thinking. So as long as you're not spoiling things for other people, we're happy to hear from you. Anyway, enough of that chatter. Let's load right back in.
All right.
Here. Oh, right, we're headed into town. Hold on, it's been a few days. I need to re-find that. It's been a busy couple of days, all right? I know it doesn't seem like it on the channel because it's been, like, just the weekend, but still. I was mulling over these ghoulish bits of calculus so intensely that I didn't notice the cart had stopped. Hedwig?
Point of order. Was the word calculus used in that way? At that time?
I don't know, actually. Come to think
We
of
gotta
it.
look that up real quick.
Yeah.
I suddenly need to know the history of the word calculus.
And just so we're clear, we're obviously not this isn't us playing gotcha. This is as much for our own edification as anything else.
Sorry, late 17th century, not 1700s. Newton and Leibniz.
Okay, so calculus wasn't a discipline until the late 17th century. Okay. Did the term calculus exist before that?
In the sense of meaning a method of calculation was used in English at least as early as 1672.
Okay, so still.
Do you know what it's actually from?
No, I don't.
It's from Latin. It is the diminutive of calx, meaning a stone. So a calculus is a small stone. And that's because you would use them to count with on like an abacus.
On an abacus. Okay.
So using it in the sense of a method of making calculations is, on the grand scale of things, extremely recent.
Yeah, do you mean you're not wrong about that? So it would be a historical in this time period.
Anyway, I had to know if they were using calculus in that way already or not because I didn't, and now I know. Sorry for interrupting your good time.
No. This is important. This is good stuff to know.
Gotta get that historical context.
Gotta have that historical context always.
Is the village in a different font?
It is. It's in this weird, like, very bottom-heavy, like, almost a playbill font.
Yeah, it looks like what you'd see on a 60s psych rock album cover.
It does. That looks like it should have, like, flowers and extremely eye-gouging, like, psychedelic effects around it.
I'm about it.
And it should say, like, it should have a, like, it should be the album art for an album that has, like, 6 2-minute songs on one side and then just, like, a 20-minute jam session on the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at this fucking Odyssey and Oracle ass font.
I love it. We're here.
Moira had stopped the cart next to a wooden post on the edge of a very muddy road. Yeah, I should have remembered to wear boots.
I remembered.
Moira finished tying the donkey's reins to the post and enthusiastically lifted her rope to show off her shoes. Wow, fancy. Oh, I didn't know there were any boots at the Abbey. They're a must once it starts snowing. Ask the Superior about it when you get a chance, all right? Although the ones we get typically aren't as, posh as those.
These were a gift.
Lucky you. Hedwig, don't worry about the mud, just get out of the cart. Wait, so, a gift from who?
I wonder.
Man, every time we learn something new about Moira, I get more and more suspicious of her.
And but entirely for reasons like she is nice and someone gave her a gift.
She is always in the most convenient spot at the worst possible time. Like it's only through implication and timing right now, but I'm still very sus on her. It looks really foul.
Jump over here. It's not quite as mushy.
I don't know. Just step down. It's really not that bad. I glanced between Eustace, whose robe was already getting muddy around the fringe, and Moira, who was enthusiastically gesturing at me from her position on a harder packed bit of road. Against my better instincts, I awkwardly positioned myself on the edge of the cart, and...
Wow.
Miraculously, I had landed on the sturdy bit of the road. My legs, clearly still weak from my recent bouts of sprinting, screamed at me to never do that again, and gave way almost immediately in protest. Luckily, Moira caught me. My head crashed into her shoulders, and we stumbled together for a few steps before regaining our footing. I'm sorry.
Don't be. Who would have known that we had a little acrobat tucked away in that cell?
Yes, very well done. Unfortunately, I'm going to need both of you to step back over here to help me with the fritters.
Thankfully, we didn't need to lug the whole crate around. While we did end up having to trapeze around the mud in order to retrieve them, Darcy had organized the sweet treats into 3 cloth sacks for us to carry. I realized that the heaviest thing about our cargo had been the chest itself, which looked like it might have been able to withstand a catapult.
Where should we start?
Interesting. Eustace nodded toward a farmhouse not far from where our donkey hitched.
Here is as good a place as any.
We lugged our bags of baked goods and toward the modest house. The land was just on the edge of the huge hill we had just ridden our way down. A few trees dotted the well-grazed lawn, and a lone horse stood idly close to the stable. I couldn't help but feel that it looked deep in thought. As we approached, a side door to the house swung open.
Oh, what's all this then?
We come bearing gifts.
Is that right?
A woman emerged behind the gruff-looking man. Both of them looked cautious.
Feels like it's been donkey's years since you lot came down here.
I guess that's me. Sister Moira and, Sister Eunice, right?
Eustace, milady.
My apologies. I don't recognize this one.
Oh, this is Sister Hedwig. She's new.
I tried to say something, but all I could muster was a little noise. I waved instead.
We heard about Catherine. Terrible thing that. I can't help but feel responsible.
Please, don't. It's not your fault.
James was troubled boy well before we started looking after him. You know, helping some people, that's what I've learned. Oh, James lived here?
My nephew. Always a little funny, that one, but I never would have. I didn't know he was that kind of blackguard.
Lost his family in the war years ago.
Right? They were taken for spies traveling home one night. He'd be, 22, 23 now? He was supposed to be running the family in by now, but he wasn't cut out for being a landlord.
Oh, Jesus. I'm not sure there's much of an inn left.
Anyway, we took him in and put him to work on the farm. We do modest work here. A little bit of animal husbandry, but the real money's in stabling the horses for folk in town. James was a real helping hand on good day, but he had a habit of running off whenever he felt like it, sleeping in, being a nuisance in town.
God rest him, but he was a sloppy worker. Terrible with the animals. Never had more livestock go missing than when we left it up to him.
We were doing something good taking him in. He had potential. Some people find their way later than others. I really do believe that. It was only right. But now, here we are.
If you're to solicit donations, it'd only be right for us to be generous.
Oh, that's so kind, but we're actually here to bring you something.
Moira opened her bag and held it out to the couple.
Well now, did Sister Darcy make these?
That's right.
In that case, I don't mind if I do.
He and his wife happily took a pastry each. They bit into them, and I could see a sense of relief overtake their worried faces. Crumbs, that's good. So they were expecting to be
Hit
not
up for money.
extorted for money, but whatever. They were expecting to have to pay money.
Yeah, that's what the almoners do, right? No, they distribute alms.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, wait,
That's the opposite of what the
backwards.
almoners do.
Almoners are supposed to be distributing money.
So who's hitting them up for money?
And they recognize they're on a first name basis, or at least recognize the nuns. And
But
they
it
were-
also has been a while.
It's been a while, but they recognize them, and they were expecting to be hit up for donations. That doesn't sound like... That sounds wrong, doesn't it?
Maybe.
Too right.
And they know Darcy as well by name.
Yep.
So. He took another bite. As he munched, he pointed out a thick, calloused finger toward me.
So, what's your story?
It's not altogether very interesting. I heard about, Catherine with a C, and I felt compelled to help. After all, she was the chronicler, and I used to write all day, so,
She was our anchoress.
Ah, I see.
one of those hermits.
I didn't know they could just up and stop.
It's unusual, certainly.
I imagine it might be quite strange leaving a position like that after so much time. Were you born in there?
No. I was very young when I started, though, and, what's your favorite thing about being free?
Oh, don't upset her. She was not free before.
See, he gets it. This guy gets it. He's putting his foot in his mouth a little bit, but he gets it.
It's an important job, isn't it?
That's right. Oh, I didn't mean to offend. Still, though. It's been very different to be out and about all of a sudden.
Hedwig is taking a real shine to her new work.
Yes, she's really been putting her back into it.
I couldn't tell if this was meant to be a jab at the altercation I thought we had just put behind us or not, but it irritated me all the same.
Well, that's good to hear. I'm sorry I never made use of your services while you were anchored. Only it's quite a commitment getting up there and back.
Yeah, it's a very strange place for a nunnery. Yeah, James made that trip more often than not. There was one thing it was always good for. What's that?
Mail, supplies, that sort of thing, that was all his purview.
Okay.
I suppose he must have set his wicked sights on Sister Catherine. Maybe he was watching her this whole time.
Well, you're not wrong, but you're wrong. What you said wasn't wrong, but
What you meant was...
what you meant was...
Best not to speculate.
And don't blame yourselves. If it would make you feel better to make some sort of donation, I can let the superior know.
Not that we came here to solicit that sort of thing, mind you.
Oh, no, of course not. I hope I didn't offend.
No, it's, well, it'll only be right.
It'd only be right, yes.
Man, Moira just really, easily kind of slipped into that, huh? I wanted very badly to tell these poor people that I had spoken with James and that I was trying my very best to help him. Whatever joy the fritters had brought was nothing compared to the pain I could sense behind their rugged faces. These were delicious, by the way.
Sister Darcy always was a talent.
Well, what were the problem with the people in the village? They seem fine.
Yeah.
Like they're fine.
You lot should come down here more often.
I agree.
I suppose you'll be off to see the town now.
Yes. Hopefully we brought enough of these.
I won't bother you for seconds then. You have a good day now, sisters.
Pax vobis.
We all exchanged nods. See, like they were fine. What the fuck were they worried about? That, like, I don't get it.
I don't get it, man.
Eustace led the way past the farm back toward the road. That went, better than I had feared.
Really? I'd rather get cupped than do that again. Those poor people.
They were really very sweet. How horrible for them, though.
Oh, because it was James, the people taking care. I only meant that. I don't know. In the car ride down, I was half expecting to be met with swords and spears.
Who says we won't be? We're not in the village proper yet.
Okay. I stopped dead in my tracks. The buildings ahead of us loomed like some dark fortress's gate, and I suddenly became very aware once again that I was further from my cell than I had ever been. Further than the hills, further than the hospitalum.
Misericorde, but every time Hedwig takes one step further away from the furthest she's ever been from her cell, she remarks about how she's one step further away from the furthest she's ever been from her cell.
Oh god, it just never ends.
Oh, Eustace, don't scare her.
Sorry. I'm just being glib.
Are you ready, Hedwig?
Is that from Lord of the Rings where they remark like, oh, this is the furthest from home I've ever been?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and that was the one where they did that edit, and it makes it like 1 billion hours long.
Hold on. I doubled over, still clinging to my bag of fritters. I tried my best to take deep breaths, but it was difficult. I was no longer in complete control of my faculties.
Hedwig?
You can do it, Hedwig.
No longer in complete control of her faculties. I'm so far from home.
You have friends with you. It's all right.
But what if I just drove the cart back myself? I could send someone else back down with it to collect you. I've had quite enough for a day, I think.
Do you know how to drive a cart and mule?
It's going to be fine, Hedwig. Look, I was just grousing on the ride down, okay? It's just silly personal drama. I probably made it seem bigger than it really is.
At worst, it'll be a little awkward. You can handle awkward.
I want to go back.
Look, if someone is rude to you, you have my permission to slap them.
Eustace.
Wait, is that the first time she's doing her laugh not in the framing device?
Maybe.
I took a particularly large gulp of air and stood up straight.
Uh-oh. Look, you definitely shouldn't slap anyone here. I was joking about that.
It was funny.
Okay. But seriously, do not.
I won't. I would never.
Guess I got lucky then.
Are you ready?
I thought you were putting it behind you. It doesn't seem like you're putting it behind you. Let's get this over with, shall we? We're in village wandering. I like that. I like wandering like it loading like it's a loading bar. That's really funny.
Yeah.
That's very cute. Entering the village proper was immediately dizzying. I had only just started growing accustomed to the size and scope of the abbey, but now I was surrounded by buildings and streets that were unto themselves their own little abbeys. Despite being spread out between buildings, courtyards, gates, and windows, I had been able to think about Lynbarrow Abbey as one place. Leaving my cell had been painful, but I was at least still in a world I could understand. I could not bring myself to think about the village in the same way, even though it was the village of Lynbarrow. I tried to stretch my understanding to include all these places in my head as Lynbarrow, but it was impossible. I had no idea how Eustace and Moira could walk so calmly between shops and houses and inns and not feel terrified. Agoraphobic, Hedwig? No, she's not agoraphobic. Because she was out in fields and just fine. It's not open space. It's being far from where she knows and in new places.
Yeah.
It's having a trouble keeping everything all in her head. That's okay. Does that sound mad? It sounds mad to say it aloud, but it really was impossible to comprehend. One could not walk, I presumed, from one house into another the way I was allowed in the abbey. The only place I was restricted from going was the back of Eustace's library, which was really only a request. I watched people knocking on doors and waiting for someone to invite them in. I saw men standing impatiently outside of shops waiting for proprietors to return. Everyone, it seemed, was beholden to the terms of some uneasy peace treaty. Everyone was the king of their own little castle. Living me like this would make me even more miserable than the abbey did. Oh, so Hedwig doesn't like... Yeah, she doesn't like having things outside of her immediate control.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which... Fair. I mean, you grow up in, like, master of your tiny-ass but domain, right? But, like, having total control over that space. Yeah, I can see how it would be difficult to adjust.
Would be.
As we passed people on the street, we would offer them fritters from our bags. Most conversation was short, if there was conversation at all. Moira was perfectly chipper, and Eustace maintained her usual calm demeanor through even the more brusque encounters. The rudest people acted as if we weren't even there. One even bumped Eustace on the shoulder, and I'm sure it was on purpose. Eustace didn't react at all, save for a quietly muttered curse word I dare not repeat. Eustace specifically seemed to be not looking forward. Did Eustace Did something happen with Eustace specifically last time she was here?
Maybe.
Because Moira seems to be getting along fine, but it seems Eustace was the one that was... And she said it was personal drama. I wonder if it was something specifically that happened with Eustace last time she was down here.
For my own part, I was doing my best to keep up the act. I dragged my feet in lockstep with my cohorts. I went through the motions of lifting up the bag. I didn't speak unless I absolutely needed to. I forced a smile to each passerby instead, hoping it would be enough. My cheeks were already numb by the end of the first street.
You're not doing the thing you need to be doing, Hedwig. Because the soup sent her down here to, they're calling her the super, like she's the superintendent.
The
soup
Super
sent her
Nintendo.
to check on Catherine's,
Yeah.
not her ally, but her stature? What's the word I'm looking for? How people feel about her.
Yeah.
And what happened.
Goodness, we still have so many left.
Darcy made too many, as usual.
That's just like her.
She's very kind. Is there something wrong with her making lots? Huh? Well, no, of course not.
No. It's sweet how excited she gets about helping out.
Not every observation about someone is a criticism, you know.
A, I'm feeling personally attacked, and B, how dare you?
Oh, be nice.
I mean, she's not wrong either.
Weren't you just getting snitty about Hedwig calling you? I can't even remember now.
Inscrutable.
That wasn't really a criticism either.
It seemed that Moira was the only one of us having any fun.
I see Hedwig and Eustace have got on to the just mean girls that part of their relationship.
We trudged through more streets, passing out fritters and knocking on doors. Not a single person had anything to say to us beyond a courtesy greeting and thanks, and many people didn't even have those to spare. I don't think anyone is home.
Okay, so most people are just taking them. So what can we surmise from that about how the nuns are? Because one of them seemed to pick out Eustace in particular, so they probably still know who she is, but like, is it wrong to extrapolate from the fact that the farmer family knew who they were specifically, that like the nuns are a known quantity in the village?
I don't know.
I don't think anyone is home here.
Try just one more time. I'd feel terrible if we missed someone.
Not a peep.
Oh no,
And all of a
Hedwig,
sudden-
no.
It was soaked. It happened so fast that I didn't even realize what had happened at first.
Okay, so do they have negative feelings towards the nuns because they're being extorted for money, rather than the other way, being given alms or donations?
Maybe.
I felt as if someone had boxed me around the ears.
Ah, Hedwig.
What? What in... Ugh! An unconcerned-looking woman was looking down on us from the window above, holding a still dripping laundry bucket.
My apologies, miss. I didn't see you three down there.
Of course not. It's very easy to miss us nuns at the door.
Well, there's no need for sarcasm, miss.
Neither Eustace nor Moira had gotten very wet at all. I, however, was coated head to toe. There was an unpleasant, frosty smell coming from the water, and I realized that my bag of fritters was sopping wet as well.
Would you like a fritter, madam? No, thank you, miss. Of course, madam. Ah, we'll just be off then. Have a good day, miss.
The woman retreated from the window without so much as an apologetic glance in my direction. Well, at least it was water.
Here, Hedwig, let me carry that.
No,
If you're sure. So, is Lynn posh? They have cobbled streets and stuff.
And Moira got some really nice boots as a gift from someone.
I can't tell if this is another thing where I'm reading too much in based on just the photography that was used, or if we are to take it that Lynn Barrow was meant to be somewhere.
Well, you would know better than I would here. What is like if they've got like cobbled streets and stuff, what does that say about their station in this time period?
I feel like most small insignificant villages wouldn't. Still.
So Lynn Barrow is at least moderately a place of means.
Yeah. But again, I might just be reading too much into the picture.
Okay.
Eventually, we came to a square with several diverging streets. Eustace leaned against a wall, looking fed up. Moira looked as if she had finally noticed that Eustace and I were not as sociable as she was. Her pleasant smile morphed into an expression altogether more concerned.
Ah, how are you two doing?
I just want to get this over with.
Yes, I've had quite enough of this, to be honest. Nobody even seems to care that we're here. Maybe it'd be best just to cut our losses and go home.
We can't do that.
No, that wouldn't be right.
Why not? But both of you had horrible things to say about the people here on the way down.
Not so loud.
And with all honesty, I must agree with them now. And now you're dedicated to finishing a completely thankless task for them? Why?
That's rich coming from the extremely none of you live correct by the Bible lady. Now being like, but these people were slightly mean to me. We should fucking.
Well, is this part of how a monastery must be run?
How do you mean?
Because Hedwig has very firm ideas about how things should be done, but like they're very specific to like what was delineated in like the rules of Saint Benedict. Was that it? Like her idea of what is good and correct has already been laid out and enumerated. Is giving out fritters to the local village part of that? Because if not, then it's perfectly cogent for her to be like, fuck this.
Right, that's not necessarily, but this whole thing of, oh, well, they were mean to us, screw them, and all of that, that's definitely not in the Bible.
I guess?
What about turn the other cheek? That's like the most famous line in the New Testament.
I guess, maybe.
Methinks Hedwig dost protesteth too much.
And then again, she did just get a bunch of laundry water dumped on her.
She sure did.
She has a point. I mean, I don't love the idea of telling the superior we gave up, but...
We really can't go back until we've finished.
And why not?
Eustace. Interesting.
Moira motioned for Eustace to come closer and whispered something into her ear through her hood.
Interesting.
Interesting? What's interesting?
What just was said.
Oh.
Ah, right.
I'm sorry, Hedwig, but we really need to do this job properly. I know it's difficult.
What's going on?
Nothing.
It's really nothing.
What kind of fool do you take me for? What did you tell her?
Hedwig.
Why does nobody treat me with any kind of respect? Am I so difficult to explain things to? Would my fragile little mind simply burst if you explained whatever you told her to me as well?
No, Hedwig, please.
You're making a scene again.
Moira took a step forward, positioning herself between Eustace and myself.
Hedwig, I don't think you're foolish or difficult or anything like that.
So then what did you tell her?
I can't say.
The fury I had been nursing before the cart ride was back in full force, and this time I could not control it. See, I think that is something that's come up with more. Hedwig doesn't have practice being around people and managing her emotions.
Yep.
It's not that they have disrespect towards her, they just know that she has not spent her adult life being around other people and learning how to keep that in check.
Yep.
I raised my hand and Moira flinched, but she stood her ground and did not hit her. Of course, although I would not like to dwell on how close I came. Instead, I jabbed a finger in her face to gesticulate angrily. So you're lying then?
No, Hedwig, don't.
Oh, how like Elisha I felt. Not bald, but nonetheless belittled and insulted for things outside of my control. I cursed Moira, I cursed Eustace, and I cursed the whole town for all to hear.
We need to get her back to the Abbey. This isn't healthy for her.
But
I hope Angela's right about bears.
Huh?
I said I hope Angela's right about the bloody bears.
I don't follow.
That's a very strong reaction from Moira.
yeah.
Eustace was nonplussed, but Moira had pieced my admittedly cumbersome insult together. Tears were rolling down her cheeks.
You don't really mean that, Hedwig.
Her sniffling caught me off guard. Before I had a chance to feel sorry, she had stormed off away from the town square. Her bag of fritters was still in her hand, and I remember that it bounced so inelegantly it would have been funny in any other situation. Eustace cast a mild yet dark expression at me.
If you had wanted to get back to the Abbey sooner, you should have kept that little tantrum to yourself.
Well, what did she tell you?
Never you mind.
She hoisted her bag over her shoulder and made to follow Moira.
Stay put. I'll clean up this mess.
Wait, you're leaving me alone?
Yes.
But no, that's silly. Let me come with you. I'm sorry about all this. This is just so different and...
Stay put.
Why?
Because I don't really want to be around you right now.
But we're friends, right? We said so. You said so in the card. Without another word, she turned around and set off after Moira. I was left all alone in the town square, my frock still dripping mildewy at water. I let the wet sack of food fall to the ground and sat on a low wall. I gripped the bricks, digging my fingernails into the hard stone and biting my own lip, trying not to cry. Is my behavior so out of line? I deeply regretted upsetting Moira, but I had withstood just about enough for one adventure. I mean, she's out of line, but also, like, I don't think it's unreasonable for, like, her to be reacting like this in a situation like this, because she hasn't spent her adult life doing stuff like this. This is, like, I think there was a whole series of decisions made before she got down here that was probably not the right call. Like, the soup, vastly overestimating just how easy of a time she'd have acclimating to being around other people, right? It's like, you put someone like her in this situation, it's not going to end well. Doesn't make her not responsible for her actions, but, like, anyone could have told you it was coming, right?
Don't put Hedwig in a situation.
Don't. No, sirree. Do not put Hedwig in a situation. I was in a strange place where strange things were happening to me. And now I was all alone. Every now and then one of the townsfolk would walk through the square, but they paid me no mind. A dog wandered over to me and I froze. I had never seen one before. I recognized it instantly, but I was still scared stiff. Even if it was a farm animal, I couldn't help but notice its sharp teeth and animal eyes. Shoo, I'm not food. The hound ignored my pleas and instead began snuffling around my legs. My breath as it rudely prodded my stomach with its snout all of a sudden. Please, go away. He helped as the creature drew itself up on its hind legs and rested its front paws on my knees. Not daring to move in case it felt like tearing me to pieces, I whimpered as it continued sniffing. After a genuinely harrowing handful of moments, I finally decided I didn't seem all that tasty and returned to the ground, but not before licking my face for good measure. Hedwig, dog friend.
It's just a little puppy that just hopped up on her lap and licked her face, and she's going through the entire stages of grief, coming to terms with her upcoming death.
Because she hasn't dealt with any of this. Like, what people around her keep forgetting is that this is all new to her. And it's not unreasonable for her to feel overwhelmed in that situation. I don't know. I'm also someone who, like, frequently in my life keep feeling like people don't
understand when you tell them sometimes that like, hey, I don't understand what you need from me or know what you're trying to get out of me in this situation, and then they just refuse to explain. Yeah, like, you ever had that happen to you?
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I don't know. I have a lot of empathy for how Hedwig feels in this moment, but that's just me.
I was relieved that I was spared from becoming its dinner, but... Come now, why are you laughing? I was frightened. I could have been eaten. Oh, really now? Anyway.
It looks like whoever she's talking to had the same reaction.
The beast turned its attention to the sack of fritters on the ground. Suppose it smelled those first and had been looking for them the whole time it had been assaulting me, but nonetheless, it had given me an awful fright. And still I felt the creature deserved better than dirty fritters. Leave those alone. They're foul and soggy. The dog paid me no mind and wrestled with the sack until the contents spilled out onto the stone. Immediately, the dog began scarfing down huge bites of the sodden pastries, which were quickly becoming one messy blob. Don't. I suppose I had no reason to stop it. At the very least, it wasn't eating my face. Does that not bother you? Is there nothing better for you to eat? I had reasoned that the dog probably had no reason to care that the food was soaked through with dirty water. I sat and watched it eat. It was deeply unpleasant, but I couldn't look away. Moist crumbs fell out of its mouth as it chomped loudly. The same food was being lapped up over and over. Eventually, however, the laundry water seemed to win. The dog made a shuddery, spasming motion that made me flinch reflexively. I was unsure if it was about to wheel around and attack me. Instead, it made a ghastly hacking sound. Half-chewed slop poured out of its mouth. The fetid mountain of ruined pastry grew ever larger. Yet it kept eating. It paid no mind to what assuredly must have tasted even worse after coming out than before it went in. Had this creature been a man, I would have begged him to stop. But all I could do was watch it continue to regurgitate and reconsume the horrid slop of the sweet pastries had become.
Yuck.
And then I heard the sound of trumpets. A mule and a wooden cart arrived in the town square. No driver sat in its front seat. A wooden pole sat in place of a rider, reaching up to the sky. I moved my gaze up to the pole to see that a large flag, or perhaps a kite, was drifting idly in the midday breeze. I held my breath as the cart passed me by. Another cart passed me by, and then another. Each flying a new color, a different flag, a new kite.
Is Hedwig having a vision?
Is she? Because we're no longer anywhere. Do you notice the location thing?
I did.
They drove in circles around the square. I think there were a dozen in all. The dog chased at the tails of the mules as they walked past, dodging out of the way of the wheels. At the last possible moment, each time one came too close. In between each cart's passing, the little creature would return to its prized mound of filth for another bite, before getting distracted again by the next donkey's tail. Trumpets blew again, this time much louder, deeper, more mournful. A new kite joined the procession. This time not a simple flapping cloth, but an intricately adorned effigy. A man. His face was chiseled handsomely, his expression stoic. Two poles held this effigy aloft, one in each of the man's wooden hands. As this cart passed me, the effigy's head turned to face me. As my eyes met with mine, and I realized it was no effigy at all, but a real figure. His gaze felt terrifying and peaceful all at once, and he beckoned me to follow him. The dog had disappeared. Only its horrid meal remained. I took care to avoid stepping in it as I left my perch on the low wall and followed the cart as it peeled away from the procession in the square. I assume it continued behind me. I do not know. I was transfixed by the cart ahead of me.
Yeah, what is this?
A vision.
A vision? She's reporting it like it actually happened.
Yeah.
Do we have reason yet to doubt narrator Hedwig? She said that she like that there is some interpretation in how she tells the story, but
I followed the cart and its floating rider through empty street.
okay, well, riders don't float, so I guess what do we make of this?
I felt disconnected from my body, as if my footsteps were happening after I had already performed the next. I was drifting over the cobblestones. I felt as light as the man above the cart did. The sight of the effigy had already made me weep, but I could feel the confused urge to burst into sobs welling up inside. I also felt light, calm, and even joyous. I felt everything there possibly was to feel, all at once. As the cart reached a dead end, however, I felt a moment of doubt. I did not want the sensation to end. I doubled back, hoping the cart would turn and lead me again. It did no such thing. I felt a brief moment of panic as I turned around to perhaps coax the man to follow me and saw that it had disappeared. I gasped and lunged around again, hoping I had just missed it passing me, and no such luck. I spun around, again and again, until I realized that I was no longer touching the ground. I floated above the village. I could see all of the streets, all of the houses, all of the nasty little fiefdoms and the people who ruled them. Being pulled up and up by some force that I knew I had to give myself over to. This was right. This was where I needed to be. This strange sensation that I was being tugged up by the scruff of my neck eventually gave way to a feeling of blissful control. I was flying now, just as the man above the cart had been. I was flying higher, in fact, and all the people below me could see what their cruelty and indifference had wrought, my ascendance and their abandonment. But then I felt that hand around my neck again. Firmer this time, more assertive. I was dragged by the throat the rest of the way up to my destination. A plateau above the village overlooking the lake. I struggled to breathe, my breath was ragged. I begged with whatever it was that held me to let me go. Eventually, I was flung to the grass. I fell on my back into the cold dew, my head crashing against the dirt. I felt a ripple of pain emanate from the back of my skull all the way out through my whole body. I could not move anymore. I stared into the clouds. They were a deep gray, heavy with rain. They covered the sky almost completely, save for a bright spot growing brighter above me.
All-knowing, all-seeing. They got the fucking Freemason compass going.
Yeah?
The clouds parted, and the man I had followed appeared between them. He was gigantic, magnificent, and terrifying. His piercing stare kept me pinned to the ground. The trumpet sounded one final time. The man finally blinked. With slow and regal grace, he withdrew between the black rain clouds that flanked him. It began to pour, and I was all alone.
So something occurs to me.
Yeah?
Hedwig telling this story after the fact has a vested interest in making her case seem divine, right?
True.
Is this just her inserting stuff that she hopes will...
Oh.
Sister, I thought I saw you wandering up the hill. Are you all right?
Yeah, because she was just wandering around trying to get away from... kind of get away from everything and probably dissociating or having a break.
You'll catch cold if you stay out here too long. Come on, up you get.
No, I...
What's gotten into you? Good thing I stepped outside when I did. I'd hate to think what would have happened if you got stuck up there all by your lonesome. You'd feel quite clammy. Where'd your friends get to? Did you get lost? You were the new one. Easy to do round here. I still have to second-guess myself sometimes if I wander further than the inn. We can send you up to the abbey once you're warmed up. Are you hungry? I'll tell the wife we have a guest. Lucky enough, we've always kept enough around for 3.
Right, because of James. Although, why do they keep that after James is no longer... Yeah, never mind, I don't care.
There you are. Well, eat at your own pace. You should eat, though. Climbing that hill all by yourself, that's hard work.
And those shoes, no less.
Did something happen?
She looks quite dazed.
Miss... Sister. Did someone get rough with you?
Or did you ever fall, perhaps? Imagine it'd be easy. That path hasn't been taken care of in donkey's years.
Is there anything we should tell your abbess?
Eat up, dear.
This is not on. If one of those towny bastards mistreated her, they won't hear the end of it.
She's shaking her head.
Thank God for that. Do try to eat something. Whatever happened has clearly rattled you.
Catherine.
The dead woman?
No. No, she means, our Catherine. Birthmark on her face.
If you say so. I'm rubbish remembering that sort of thing.
A tall woman from the estate. I remember.
Right. So we did know Lynn Barrow is at least a little bit posh because they had a wealthy merchant family.
Yep. Okay.
Catherine's.
So, yeah, you're right. So, would a posh place kind of look down on nuns going around handing out food?
I don't know.
I don't know what like that dynamic would look like, but oh, sorry, I thought you had already read that.
Nope. I had not read either of those.
So she really did take the vows. Well, I'll be.
Yes. She lives in the abbey now.
I could not bring myself to look at them.
And do you think she could kill someone? What sort of question is that?
Well, yes.
Harold!
It's common knowledge.
Even still, upsetting her. She's clearly a little touched right now.
Yep, okay, so.
What is common knowledge?
Well,
Harold, do not upset her any further.
she killed her husband, didn't she?
Now look what you've gone and done.
Who was her husband?
The lord of the estate by the lake. It was a terrible scandal.
And there was proof?
So they've even got a local lord with an estate out by the lake.
Shit, okay, so yeah, that is pretty posh.
Well, not that I know of, but it's proof enough, I suppose, that she opted to take the veil.
We should stop talking about this. It's not proper.
Why would she kill him?
Had something to do with infidelity, if I remember right.
It's not spoken of anymore. The whole village put it behind him when she left.
And who's the lord of the estate now?
Truth be told, I can't be asked to keep up with titles and whatnot. The new lord only visits occasionally, I think.
How's with a murder like that hanging over it? Can't imagine it's very comfortable to stay there long.
And how did Catherine's husband die?
She cut his head clean off with his own sword.
Okay, so there's an intention and message behind how Catherine with a C died.
That's interesting.
Again, I don't really have anything to base this on, but it could be that they got the wrong Catherine, and they meant it to be a bit of comeuppance for the other Catherine.
They could be. Or it's someone who... Here's something.
Yep.
So they mentioned a bit of infidelity. Perhaps it's infidelity on the part of Catherine's husband. Perhaps she really does kill him. Perhaps other people just think it's that way. Doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, he's dead, head lopped clean off. What if somebody was close to him? For example, the person he was being unfaithful with. And she wanted to ruin Catherine's life by lopping somebody else's head off in the same way, a way that Catherine would have to know was because of that, would have to know it was the same thing, and that would get pinned on James, the person that Catherine was
now.
Also being unfaithful with.
Oh, that's good.
Just like, yeah,
That's
you
good
ruined my
shit.
life, I'm going to ruin yours in a karmic way that only you will be able to know what happened and that there's no way you can wriggle free from.
That's really good shit right
Without
there.
just making yourself look like the suspect.
That's a good swing. That's a good swing right there. I like that.
Oh, so they said. I wasn't there, so I couldn't tell you for sure, but one way or another, he ended up without his noggin. Nasty business. Nasty place in general, this hill. Something here must drive folks mad, I reckon. First Catherine, then our James. Rich or poor, something to grab you. I'd move, but that's a task easier said than done.
They spoke so freely of the horrid crime. It was common knowledge, even. The answer seemed to have been available to me all this time.
Several simple questions were all I needed to ask. With the wife surging, I tried to eat a little more of the pottage they had so kindly provided. It didn't take, however. I was elsewhere still. I felt shame. Shame for how long it had taken me to make any forward momentum on my task for Catherine's sake. Shame for how simple the connections I had needed to make seemed now. I felt shame that it had taken a vision to pull me on this path. What I had just experienced was a divine course correction. The kind of thing reserved, I imagined, for good sailors lost at sea or troops wandering in the desert. Yeah, no, this is definitely Hedwig giving, ascribing divine intervention to something that just kind of happened by chance at the time. At the time, she just felt overwhelmed and ran away because she couldn't handle it, and wound up there and happened to get in the place she needed. And in her eyes, that's God's doing.
Or she had a vision. What? People have visions.
Okay. Sure. All right. You're right. I should just accept what's put before me. There's no need to think about it any more than that.
I don't think that's what I said, though, right? People have visions. That's a thing that happens to people.
Okay.
Doesn't mean they're true. Doesn't mean that they're correct, that God was the source of them.
Okay.
But it feels like there's a leap between, obviously there wasn't divine intervention, to Hedwig is lying and covering up for something that I don't think those
I don't think
follow.
she's lying and covering up. I think she's ascribing an intention that wasn't there. I think in her eyes it perfectly makes sense that she was guided here by the hand of God, but...
Okay, so you're not saying she didn't have this experience.
Right.
Okay. I thought you were saying she didn't have this experience, and she just wandered over here and is now, after the fact, embellishing it for the listener's sake.
I mean...
Which is a bit of a different thing.
I do seriously doubt whether or not she had this experience, but I could also accept that, like, this is something that she had and she's ascribing godly nature to it after the fact. That she did see those visions, but I do think it's more like, because even the farmer remarked that she was just kind of wandering up the hill on her own, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. That's where... Whether she had the visions herself, and she really experienced those things, I don't think there's any question as to what actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
She had a break and wandered up the hill.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just me. I had been deemed worthy of this kind of direct messaging from God, spoke very highly of Catherine. Surely, I felt, there were more important people to be helping than I. Perhaps I'd been aided in their stead. Perhaps there was a prayer out there left unanswered because I was too foolish to do a very simple job. Perhaps, as impossible as it may seem to suggest, it was stupid enough to put a strain on God's omnipresence. Matthew 6:28, Considerate lilia agri quomodo crescunt, non laborant nequem nent. Perhaps I am lower than the lily, which thrives while wanting for nothing. So dramatic, I know. But am I wrong to think it? God provides for all, and God is not limited to any one action at any one given time. Still, I feel sometimes that I could just be that wretched. Of course, as I might remind myself in a better mood, that is conceited talk. Perhaps I'm allegorizing the flowers and the birds too heavily, as Augustine warns us about. Who am I to complain, after all? I'd suffered far less than Job, yet... Job?
Yeah, Job.
Than Job, yet here I am, lamenting more than he ever did. Whether I am damned or just conceited, there's no path that leads me away from shame.
Ah, that must be your friends.
The man stood up to get the door. I did not turn around. I was deep in thought, staring into that fireplace. The flames were more comforting, more understanding, more understandable than any pair of eyes I had ever looked into. I hear pleasantries being exchanged, footsteps on the wooden floor, could feel two cold, wet presences approaching behind me. Soon I would have to leave the comfort and fireside to join them.
Hedwig.
Sister Moira? Sister Eustace? Can you forgive me?
We're going the other direction now. Returning! It was pointless to wait for a break in the rain, or so my companions said. The ride back up the hill to the abbey was much soggier than the trip down. Some of the travelers in carts flanked by armored horsemen passed us by at the village outskirts. Travelers in carts flanked by armored horsemen. Interesting. Armored horses don't just get armor, right? Like that implies a level of importance.
Yeah, so somebody around here has got a retinue of knights or what have you.
They looked just as miserable as I felt. I could hear raindrops plinking against their helmets as they hurried into town. We sat in silence for the first third or so. I looked out the back of the cart towards the farmhouse chimney, yearning for the security of that fireplace until the building was out of sight entirely.
I told the superior this was a bad idea, you know.
You were wrong.
Oh?
Yes, I learned something very important today.
Really now?
Yes. It would be difficult to explain.
We have time.
Now, Eustace.
I'm suddenly on screen.
I've already forgiven the poor woman. There's no need to torment her.
I'm not tormenting her. I'm curious.
Well, after we split up, I watched a parade go by.
There was a parade?
No, there wasn't.
I had finally given up on trying to stare into the increasingly distant fireplace and turned to face Eustace. She looked tired.
So what do you mean, a parade?
I meant exactly that. I'm sure you can understand. I had a vision.
Really now?
Yes, I swear it. I saw a parade, a procession of carts with no riders, all carrying grand kites and banners. One of them I thought at first carried an effigy. But it was. And it got more mysterious after that, I suppose.
What happened?
Yes, tell us. This is very interesting.
Well, I followed that particular cart for a while. Suppose that was how I ended up wandering away from the town square.
Understandable. I did tell you to stay put, but I might make an exception for a vision.
Eventually I lost him, but then I was carried through the air. I know this sounds quite strange, but then whatever courage the fire had given me finally waned. I could not bring myself to explain the entirety of my experience to Eustace. His expression remained, dare I say it, inscrutable. And then I came to, I suppose. I'm not sure how else to describe it.
You flew?
She walked. The farmer saw her climbing the hill.
Do you not believe me?
I believe you felt like you were flying.
I felt it. I saw it. It was in the air, however briefly.
The man said he found you laying on the grass at the top of the hill, getting soaked by the rain.
I know it sounds hard to believe, but it's what happened. Eustace sighed deeply and pulled her hood tighter over her head.
People don't fly, Hedwig.
Perhaps flying is the wrong word. I was being carried? It's not like I controlled my faculties in the air.
Like you were plucked from the earth by God's own hand.
Well, yes.
Moira, the man saw her climbing the hill.
Also, Moira jumping in and...
So he says. Maybe he saw her after she had come back to the ground. Or maybe both things are completely true.
And how would that work?
Well, have you heard about parallel universes?
No.
Oh, I have. Are those the things that you need to do to get low A-press count?
That hasn't been invented yet, silly.
Oh, and I suppose that parallel universes have.
Well, Hedwig could have been carried, and maybe the farmer was shown an image of her climbing. I mean, she would have been far away from the house, just sort of a shape, so he would go up and find her.
So God carried Hedwig up the hill, showed an image of her to a man who was already nearby. Two divine revelations within, 10 or 15 meters of each other.
Darcy has visions all the time. Why is Hedwig having one so hard to believe?
So now we have 3 people in close proximity all having grand visions.
Who's the third? Who's the third, had Eustace?
The third was, in this case, the farmer.
Oh, okay.
Does beg your belief. Just a tad.
I think it's beautiful. Maybe this mountain is just special.
Eustace let the squelching of the mud beneath the cartwheels answer for her.
I just think it's possible, that's all.
At any rate, it's a moot point to argue. I don't think Hedwig is lying. Just don't know if I can accept that it really happened.
What about Darcy's visions? You've got quite an interest in those, haven't you?
Darcy's are different.
In what sense?
Well, she never claimed to be flying in any of hers.
What does happen in hers, typically?
Why don't you ask her and spare me the Inquisition?
Because she doesn't remember.
Nobody expects the Inquisition.
That was uncalled for. It's been a long afternoon.
You can say that again.
It's been a long afternoon.
You can say that again.
It's been a long afternoon.
You can't say that again.
Fuck.
Can we all please make up before we get back to the Abbey?
I'd like that. I'm sorry for being so hysterical.
We're not hysterical, Hedwig.
It was a cruel idea to force you into coming, I think. I'm sorry for insisting we stay
It
longer.
really seemed like Moira had something else going on there, but
Yeah, there was a specific reason
that they
the
were there,
soup
that they had to
sent-
finish.
Yeah, that the soup sent them there that was different than the reason that the soup gave to
but Hedwig.
Hedwig.
Yeah. Although Hedwig didn't tell them why she was there, so interesting.
I wanted to tell Moira that she didn't know the half of it. She didn't deserve to worry about having forced me to do anything when the Superior demanded it in the first place. No, my behavior was inexcusable, as it is all too often. I thought I caught a glimpse of Eustace rolling her eyes out of the corner of my eye, but perhaps she was just adjusting her spectacles.
I can appreciate that this trip was an extenuating circumstance.
Yes. I think that next time I will stay at the Abbey. It's all the same to you.
We should at least take you on a picnic or some such. Small steps, you know. You can't stay cooped up in the Abbey forever.
I thought that was rather the point.
Oh, you know, you have a dark sense of humor sometimes, Hedwig.
There was no handshake this time, but I did not feel like I should push things any further. The rest of the ride up to the Abbey was silent, but at the very least, it was slightly less uncomfortable silence than the one that preceded this conversation. I didn't like the uncertainty, but it would have to do. The rain was showing no signs of letting up when we finally arrived. I was particularly bedraggled. The indignity of the laundry water incident was something that would stick with me permanently. And as soon as I hopped out of the cart, I made a beeline for the dorms to change.
Oh, Hedwig, where are you off to now?
The dormitory. I must get out of these wet robes or I'll never be dry again in my life.
Why don't I draw a bath?
I had to admit this sounded like a wonderful idea. You know, I think I would like a bath very much.
We all would after an outing like that, I think. Day is it again?
Ah, November the 21st, I think.
November the 21st. We
Do
have.
you remember the 21st night of November?
Oh, that's what you were doing. That's a little forced. Does anything important happen on this year and this date?
I don't know. We can look it up. Do you want to see what happened on this day?
Yeah, I do
happened on this
actually.
day?
November 21st of I forget the date. Was it 1451? Hold on, do I need to look up the video now to go find out what date this started in?
Let's see. I don't know of anything. The Wikipedia doesn't have anything in that century of note happening on.
Anything around then?
Not in the century.
Really? No, nothing of note happened that century.
On that. Sorry. Oh, I thought you meant on this day.
I guess this day, yeah, but hold on. What year was this? 1482. 1482.
In 1495, the English bishop and historian John Bale died on November 21st. Is it a holiday? Of course it's going to be a feast day. It's the feast day of several different saints. None of whom seem relevant.
But hey, we found ourselves a place, right, in time? That's
It's
good.
the presentation of the Blessed Virgin Mary. It's United Nations World Television Day.
Okay, I don't think they had that yet. All right, well, this has been entirely unhelpful. Let's move along.
Perfect. I froze. I not realized that Moira meant we should all bathe together at once, and I did not like the idea at all. Oh, perhaps I'll have one tomorrow.
Nonsense. You'll catch cold if you don't.
Do we even have time to heat up water for it?
With any luck, someone else already thought the bright idea to take a bath today.
I couldn't help myself. I groaned aloud and put my hood over my eyes.
What's the matter?
Oh, I suspect.
Well, you don't have to join us, Hedwig, but I think it'd be a good idea.
I
Well, that decides it.
curse my wretched body. I would have escaped this humiliation if it weren't for that little sneeze, I'm sure of it. Oh, go on then.
You two run up and get your change of frocks. Eustace, would you mind getting mine?
On it.
We made our way upstairs to the dorms quickly, dripping water all along the way. The top of the stairs, I nearly ran straight into Darcy.
Oh, good. You are back. I was just looking for you, Eustace.
Hello, Dars.
Do you have a minute? I need your help with something.
Of course. Hedwig, would you mind getting Moira's clothes? Where's the door between Catherine with a K's and Darcy's?
Oh, yes, I can do that. Eustace nodded, and Darcy hobbled away back down the staircase. Eustace stopped for a moment on the landing, however, and turned to me.
That reminds me. You should talk to Darcy later, you know.
Huh?
About your vision.
Oh, yes, I will try to remember to do so. Eustace nodded, then disappeared down the stairs after Darcy. I quickly scooped up my dry frock from my dormitory and suspiciously placed books on my dorm bed, I noted.
She's just come to expect it now.
Yeah. It felt wrong to intrude on Moira's room, but at this point I desired nothing more than to get this whole exercise over with as quickly as possible. I opened her door and slipped inside on the lookout for her spare clothes immediately. The last thing I wanted to do was gawk at someone else's room uninvited. Couldn't help but notice how neat and tidy it was, however. The beautifully carved crucifix hanging on the wall above her pillow, and her reading desk was meticulously stocked with papers. A handsome quill sat next to an ink pot as well. To cap it all off, there was a beautiful little box resting on the desk next to the organized papers. The wood was clearly expertly carpentered and was gilded in a regal yet understated fashion. The whole room had a sense of carefully considered elegance to it. It was perfectly fitting for Moira. Simple, but radiant. Not vain, but reverent. Please do not tell Moira I just described her as simple. I did not mean it as an insult. Approachable, uncomplicated, steadfast in her positivity. The bath situation is a perfect example of what I meant. I'd been so cruel to her in the village, and to be perfectly honest, Eustace wasn't exactly that kind to her in the cart either. But Moira's instinct was to bring us closer together. There's a simple beauty to that. I think so, at least. Anyway, I quickly identified an impeccably folded set of clothes next to her bed, underneath the window. I scooped them up quickly. As I turned around, however, no. The pile of clothes I was carrying, I think, had brushed up against the quill resting atop her desk. I watched it tumble end over end to the floor, carrying the ink pot with it. No! Black liquid oozed out of the pile of broken glass. I scurried away and closed the door behind me in a panic. Checked the bottom of my shoes. There was nothing there, thank God. In reality, it was dead silent. But I promise you I could hear the bubbling, oozing, and dripping of the undoubtedly expensive ink I had just splashed all over the floor behind the door. It's not one thing, it's always another with me. Was I being punished for dawdling once again? Should I have emphatically refused the offer of a bath and instead made a beeline to the superior's office? Should I have gone then at that very moment? Truthfully, I only came to that conclusion a bit later. In the actual moment, all I could think about was what to say to Moira, or if I would say anything at all. It's shameful to admit, but I was frankly terrified of putting any strain on our relationship at all. After my embarrassing display in town, Moira was endlessly forgiving, but I worried that even I could find an end to her graciousness if I kept imposing upon her. And so I decided I would leave this. I couldn't leave quickly enough. I practically flew down the stairs. Suddenly, I was very eager to get into a bath. Anything was better than being caught red-handed with a broken bottle of ink, even burying myself in front of Moira and Eustace. Which we'll have to wait for until...
Next time?
Next time. I'm having fun with this.
Yeah.
I'm really having a good time playing this game. I hope you all are as well. As usual, comments, please use Rot13 if you've already gone through it. But if it's your first time through, feel free to let us know your thoughts. And again, feel free to slip into the 8PR Discord and talk with us about it there.
Yeah.
Again, like we pull these things from our comment section and from in the Discord as well. So feel free to let us know what you're thinking. This is fascinating, and I'm glad we're in the ground floor of it. I can't wait for... There's already been some key art for Volume 2 released. So,
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking forward to it. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.